I'm still on my frosty morning walk, and I sort of opened a door to my reminiscing, thinking of Christmases past, the good and the bad. The good, well, the best have to be when the children were small, excited, nativities to attend, costumes to provide. I loved all of that. Except one year when my son was he was one of the kings, one of the 3 kings in a playgroup nativity. And he was at that time rather underconfident. And even though I'd hid myself at the far end of the row of adult watchers, away from the side of the hall down which they would enter, he picked me out and shuffled in to join me. So it became we 2 kings from Orient are. Yeah. Those were good. But for the past 30 odd years, Christmases have been very different. Obviously they are when families have flown the nest. And yeah, I'm okay about going shopping for me, about eating by myself. I'm happy, it's okay. And I have had visits to friends for Christmas, which has always been really lovely. But what I consider my favourite Christmases of recent years, I was telling somebody the other day and they told me I was bonkers. Maybe I am. But I used to help at a care line. It was on our local television channel in Manchester. And I would drive in. I always covered Christmas Day when most people were wanting to be at home with their own families. But I was quite happy to cover Christmas Day. And I always covered New Year's Eve. Again, people wanted to be out jollificating. But for 2 years, I had 2 very long conversations. It was just luck that the calls came through to me. The calls weren't filtered. They just were fed through to one of the 14 or 15 people who were there to help. And yes, you'd get calls like, can you tell me if the Blackwall Tunnel's open? Sorry, we're Manchester based, so I have no idea. Well, you're not much good, are you? Thank you very much. Happy Christmas to you too. Or one lady who phoned and said, can you tell me how long I have to cook my turkey for? So I gave her the details. And I said, it is well unfrosted, isn't it? Oh no, I better get it out of the freezer. And that was about 10 o'clock Christmas morning. Sorry, missus, you ain't having that turkey today. But for 2 consecutive years, I had calls that have stopped with me. One was a lady calling, would I please speak to her husband, who was kneeling in the middle of the sitting room with a knife in his hand, about to commit suicide. Oh boy. Fortunately, it wasn't a subject that was new to me. So I talked with her and I got her to hold the phone against her husband's ear. Eventually got him to sit back on his haunches, put his knife down, hand his knife to his wife for her to remove it. And then we began talking about how he felt, what had brought him to this. And at the end of 4 hours, I was able, with a clear conscience, to wish him well and ask if he would please phone in and leave a message for me the next morning. And he did, with grateful thanks. To me, that was one of my best Christmases. How could it possibly not be if I'd helped to save the life of another human being? Surely that is what Christmas is about. Not about getting bladdered, stuffing yourself silly and spending a fortune on presents. But the person that I was talking to thought I was balmy. I'll go with that. I'll accept that one. On that note, I will wander back home, warm up my extremities, and thank you so much for joining me. I hope that you have a lovely, lovely Christmas. And do think about others, because that's the true Christmas spirit. Take care. Take the very best care of yourself that you can. Bye.